Welcome back to Building What We've Learned. Today, we're talking about the legend of Maui and how he might be a little bit more human than stories might lead you to believe. Ooh, and heads up before we get started, I'm very much an English-only speaker, so pronouncing some of the names and locations featured in these tales, I tried my best. But, I tried my best. Alright, let's get into this. Most people know the name of Maui by this point, a demigod folk hero from Polynesian mythology that has now been featured in multiple Disney movies. So when I decided to pick up a copy of Polynesian Island Mythology by J.K. Jackson, I was expecting to see his name show up fairly frequently. I did not expect more than a third of the book to be dedicated to his adventures. So while the hero Maui has become a household name, his real origins from those who first told his tales across the ocean waves paint a much more complex picture of his life and even his death. To understand Maui's story, we must first understand how Polynesian folklore and religion was shared. Advanced navigators known as wayfinders would traverse the largest body of water on Earth sharing stories, which allowed the same figure to feature in a variety of myths that vary from island to island. Maui's life begins as a child of a god of the underworld and a mortal woman who guards the entrance. The exact names and details vary from island to island, but the important fact is that the Maui most people think of is actually the youngest of 5 children, all who share the Maui family name. Maui the hero, however, was born prematurely. He would have likely not survived if his mother had not wrapped him in her cut-off hair and thrown him into the waves. The animals of the ocean protected him until baby Maui could wash ashore on a new beach and be taken in by a wise old man. The baby was raised by the old man, and he learned much of the earth and sky. But during all the time he stayed with this man, Maui was remarkably human. The only magic he knew was how to transform his body, and frequently only into a pigeon. One day, the old man told young Maui that it was time for him to find his real family. So the child traveled across the earth and sky until he found 4 other children who all bore resemblance to him. He sat with them in the great house of assembly, and when his mother came back and found a 5th child among her boys, she proved that it was her son and brought him back to live with the family. Some islands tell that Maui's family home was in the lava tube caves of an extinct volcano, while others say it was in the lava rock bed near the Hilo River. While others still say that his mother, Hina in these versions, lived in the underworld and would travel up the lava tubes to spend the day with her children before going back down to spend the night with her husband. One day, Maui became curious about where his mother went at night after she had put all the brothers to bed. So he transformed into a pigeon and followed her into the caves and down into the underworld. He flew until he found a large opening and a sacred tree. There his mother sat with a small group of people. He perched in the tree and began to throw berries down at them, until the people began to throw rocks back up. He dodged them all until his father began to pick up a large stone and threw it. Maui let the stone strike him and turned back into a human as he fell to the ground at his father's feet. Once Maui's father learned who it was who fell from the tree, he took Maui further down into the underworld to begin to perform a ritual. Modern translations of the story say that it was to baptize the child, though some references in the New Zealand version cite it as a toi ritual. This is similar to a baptism but less Christian. It's where a child is sprinkled with water and dedicated to the gods. Maui's father does the ritual ceremony with the intent to give his child more power and immortality. However, a mistake was made during the ritual, and Maui, while he gains the powers, he retained his human mortality. So the youngest Maui was sent back up to the human world to live with his brothers. And this is where the story of the hero for humanity truly begins. While Hina was in the human world with her children, she ate raw fish and uncooked roots. According to the stories told on Harvey Island, Hina told Maui that she would eat delicious cooked food while in the underworld, made by the gods who kept the fire below. Hearing this, Maui decided he was going to set about learning how to make fire without needing to use lava or lightning as a starter. In Hawaiian tales, Maui captured mud hens, the birds who could start fires, and threatened them to give up their secrets, making them bald when they did not comply. Another Hawaiian story told of how Maui used the knowledge his mother gave him to track the god who makes baked bananas in the underworld. He met that god and battled him until he fell, only for then Maui to drag his body to the fire fountain and force the spirit of the god into the body once again, so the secret of cooked food would not be lost forever. When this was done and Maui had his knowledge, he gathered up the fire sticks and returned to his brothers above. Once food could be cooked, Maui looked to the sky that hung low over their heads. The heavens and earth were not yet separated at this time. The sky was so low, in fact, the island was shrouded in darkness, and plants grew their leaves flat to avoid touching the sky. Hawaiians say that Maui approached a woman and asked for a drink from her gourd. After drinking deeply, he braced himself against the sky and began to push. He lifted the clouds above the trees and hoisted the sky above the mountain. He pushed it as far as he could and gave one last great heave and shoved the sky into place. From there, Maui took up fishing with his brothers. The elder siblings were better fishermen than Maui was. They made hooks of bones and mothers of pearls to fish the deep sea. Maui's hook, meanwhile, was made of a magical bone from his grandmother in the underworld. Previously, he had used this hook to catch the sun and slow down the day so that humanity could have time to get work done before resting at night. He did not use this hook often in his adventures. He would rather use his wits and skill in magic before turning to the hook. It being a fishing hook, however, Maui saw no reason not to use it on the fishing trips. According to New Zealand folklore, Maui persuaded his brothers to go out farther into the ocean than they had ever gone before. Using his blood as bait, Maui dropped his magical hook into the waters. It dropped to the bottom of the ocean and hooked at the top of the underworld. The Maui brothers paddled with all their might to raise the line, believing it was a great fish. But there was no twitch in the line, no zigzag back and forth or fight to get away, only one strong anchor. One of the brothers became suspicious of this and looked back. His screams caused the others to turn their heads as well. Their fear of what might be coming out of the water made them push the oars even harder. Out of the ocean, a dark landmass began to emerge. Quickly, the waters became so shallow that their fishing canoe was unable to move forward. The great fish of Maui was pulled out of the ocean and became the northern island of New Zealand. People, resonances of what was once down below but now above, filled the island and became the Maui people of Te Ika Maui. In yet another tale, 3 of the brothers, not including the hero Maui, were on a trip in the ocean alone when they became stranded on a reef patch during a storm. Their boat began to crumble in the waves and capsized. They attempted to climb on top of their destroyed boat for safety, but the cold south winds were too much and began to freeze them. Their bodies turned to stone from the winds and began to form the South Island of New Zealand. The tallest brother became the highest peak of the mountain, forever looking out into the sky. Many stories of Maui in New Zealand connect him to the winds. He would catch the winds and put them in caves so they would not blow. He made flying kites and made friends with the birds. He would call to the winds to make his flight even fiercer and uplift the joy of the soaring paper kite, and the kite became a blessing for the islanders who saw it. Maui became a symbol of humanity. But one thing that separates humanity from the gods is death, or the lack thereof. Maui's father made a mistake during the ritual that granted Maui the power of his family. Maui always knew he was going to die, for he was human just like his brothers and the rest of the people on the island he lived on. So, the youngest child of the underworld god decided to try and gather the greatest gift he could think of for humanity: immortality. While this story was likely widespread, there are very few complete versions of this tale. The one I'm about to tell comes from New Zealand, the Maui people as referenced before. Maui the hero lived an eventful life. He had succeeded at every battle he had ever gotten involved in, tricked gods, lifted skies, united islands. He was confident and saw the idea of reaching immortality to give it to humans well within his capabilities. When Maui's father learned of this, however, he warned his son otherwise. For Maui was doomed to die, and his wits could not save him forever. Maui the hero did not heed his father's warnings, though. He did not care about the mistakes his father made. Maui believed that his trickery and skill would carry him through like they had before. So Maui gathered up his brothers and headed to find the goddess of the night, Inoetapo. She is the one who received the spirits of humans when they died and prepared them for the afterlife. The brothers sailed far west in the horizon, where they managed to find a great pit, the home of the night. There they found the goddess sleeping in her bed. The goddess's eyes were as dark as greenstone. her teeth as sharp as obsidian, her hair flowing in the air like seaweed would in water, light flashing in her body like in the sky above the darkened waves. As the brothers of the night entered into the pit, Maui warned them not to laugh, for if they did, the goddess would awake and their plan would be ruined. Maui's plan was to transform into a small worm and crawl into the goddess's body, to pass through her stomach and come out her mouth. He believed that passing through the goddess would conquer death and allow him to bring immortality to those he cared about. Once transformed into a worm, Maui made his way towards the sleeping goddess. His brothers found the plan and the image of a worm inching towards the goddess's legs very funny and began to laugh at the sight. At first, it was just snickers, but as Maui was halfway into the goddess, the brothers' snickers turned into loud laughs. The goddess woke up and sharp obsidian teeth came out of her walls and severed Maui in half. With Maui dead, humanity had lost a chance to gain immortality, for no other hero would ever be brave enough to face Hinoetepo again. And that is the story of Maui's life. A hero to humanity, whose accomplishments made the world livable for those whose lives end in death, including Maui himself. As the Maui people say, men make heroes, but death carries them away. Thank you for watching. I love how this build turned out. I'm not a terraformer, so trying to build a whole island from scratch was a little bit beyond my comfort zone, but I had a vision and I knew I had to stick through it. Look how beautiful that hook came out. I had to build an island to complement it. As always, please let me know what type of story you would like me to cover next, and I will do my best to research as I can. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.